Aloha everyone, this is Arado and we're here to talk about Katarina. To be specific, the latest style Saga collaboration Katarina. We want to see whether the global changes is good or is okay, or how does it fare with the current global styles, and how does she fare with her JP implementation. Before we start, I want to give a quick shout out to Mia-san, Tokika Aqua, for the Pixel Halloween coppelia we have on display, and also Sato-san for the Ciato artwork we have on display. When you have the chance, please visit their respective pages. They do creative artwork on their own ways. And with that, let's start the video with the changes with Katarina. And so if you don't know already, Reddit and Discord usually post these changes after the Taiwan video is available. Jan's on Discord and then Hans on Reddit. They are the ones responsible in translating the changes accordingly. Looking at the video, reading at the ability, skill, what have you, and then looking at the numbers, and then they provide a really good summary about it. So I'm always thankful for both of them because it's always been it's always presented in a way that it's easy to look at, and having knowledge in JP that would be able to see at a first glance what are the changes, and you would be able to see immediately whether they're okay or good or not. And so the global version of Katarina, there are attribute changes for strength, dexterity, and agility for obvious reason. And then the major overhaul is in the ability. So Katarina has this extra small heal that she does at end of turn in JP, while it's behind an RNG at a 37% chance. And then she also has her BP plus 2 at end of turn. These have been moved to her doing specific elements. So when she does a cold element attack in global, she would do an extra AoE extra small heal, and then when she's doing a pierce element attack, that she would do BP plus 2 to herself. And then on top of that, Katarina would have BP plus 1 and extra small heal to herself whenever she inflicts a weak attack. So a weak attack is if you do an attack to the enemy and then it displays the word weak. So that means you're hitting the enemy weak point, and that Katarina would be able to trigger this ability on her. Her change in global mainly benefits the farming scenario, where she is now able to use her Frost Rush from her other style for 3 rounds AoE farming, or Alarm from her UDX style for 2 rounds single target farming. While it's not the most optimal setting for those type of farming, but she would be able to help in that aspect along with other characters doing the same thing. In a hard content scenario, she has 2 roles available. She can do healing duty with spamming skill number 2, or being able to put up physical mitigate every 3 turns with skill number 3. So just something to note that the physical mitigate is something unique to her. From what I recall, that she's the only one still in JP that has that buff to the party. So how does this change fare to her JP counterpart? Well, for once, you don't have to do specific elements to be able to get the BP plus 2, which I feel is a huge thing, especially if you wanted to take advantage of her other skills from her previous style, because as you know, Katarina started off as a greatsword style. So I would say at least 90% of her skills are slash element, and then there's some where cold, and then one skill that's blunt, and then the rest is pierce with this style. So really having knowing that Katarina would do mostly slash element if you choose to inherit some of her skills from, you know, any of her style, that she wouldn't really benefit with the BP plus 2, with it being locked on a pierce element. So that's the major thing that I notice and I feel is something notable to consider. And the other one, the extra small heal, is kind of a double-edged thing. In JP, you rely on RNG you know, you can have that extra small heal every single turn as long as you win that 37% chance, as compared to global where you're kind of stuck with her skill number 2, skill number 3, and then probably specific skills from her previous styles that you're better off just doing normal attack and then get the BP plus 2 with this style. So yeah, it's kind of, again, it's a give and take kind of thing, and I feel that with if you use it, it's really good. But if at times where you want to utilize it for something else that you're missing and not able to take advantage of that extra small heal. So yeah, there's some pros and cons to it, and I feel that for the global style for Katarina, they wanted to make you focus on using just this style alone, in which it's a good thing, I feel, because if for example, Halloween Esper Girl, I know I have touched that in my future unit video where she would shine if you have UDX style because of dimensional aura. But without that, she's kind of okay-ish because she follows up with telekinesis. But if you have dimensional aura, that she would be able to give guard up and do some elemental defenses on you, as well as, you know, chance to follow up with an extra small heal. So that's why it's one other factor to consider for Katarina being an all-in-one package with this style alone, that you don't need other style to make full use of her ability. Alright, let's look at her rotation. So her rotation is a little weird because you, most of the time, I would say you wouldn't be hitting the enemy weakness, but again, I might be eating my own words because we might have enemies where they're weak against pierce or cold element. But if you don't, then you would have the rotation to the left where you would be kind of following like a 6 rotation kind of thing, where you use her skill number 3 every 3 turns. So turn 1, turn 4, and so on. And then you would be able to squeeze in a skill number 2 somewhere in that 6 turn rotation so that you would be able to do 2, if not 3 extra small heal. So, you know, if you roll for 2 hits for skill number 2, then you do 2 times of the extra small heal. And then because it does a cold element, that it does 1 more extra small heal, total of 3 extra small heal. And then as you use skill number 3, because of, again, having cold element, that she would also be able to give 1 extra small heal to the party, which I would say sometimes would be good, sometimes would be okay. It would be good because if at the time where you really need healing, that she would be able to kind of help in that aspect. But if you don't need healing, then that's kind of useless, you know, with that healing on skill number 3, because having that end of turn 37% chance from JP would have worked better. But again, it depends on the scenario. But if, say, you're hitting the enemy weakness, then it's a totally different story where you might be able to squeeze in skill number 2 more often than not hitting the enemy weakness because of that extra BP plus 1 that you're getting on Katarina. So other than that, I feel that one of the main point to bring up is, and I want to credit Siegfried from Discord and Reddit on this point. Basically, if you want to bring Katarina to a hard content scenario, you would want to bring a second naturally pierced character like, say, Matriarch. You would be fighting on gears to have them reach 35 resistance. As you know, intrinsic would only work if you gear that character properly, and so if they take a resist damage, that's where the mitigate and the dodge chances would be coming in. If, say, you have Katarina and Matriarch both in the party, and the hard content boss that you're facing is it wanted to use a lot of slash attacks, that you might have to scramble in making sure both of them have 35 resistance to slash. As you know, the Jankenpon for the element is if you're naturally pierced, that you're weak against slash resistance. So that's where you would need most of your gears towards that, so that you can reach that 35 number. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing is, if you wanted to have Katarina focus in extra small heal, that she would need to do at least 4 times extra small heal to be able to be at par with those characters that can do small effect of healing, like Stillblade Phoenix from Polka, or from Time with the overdrive healing. And so I think the extra small heal, if you roll 3 times, is pretty good on its own, because you would be able to spam that skill more often, especially if you have external BP battery in the party. So it's a, again, give or take kind of thing. I think what Katarina is missing is extra capability that other supports can do, just like Polka, for example. He can do Stillblade Phoenix and be able to give attack boost to the party. Time would be able to give guard up, endurance, and will buff, cure ailment, and give ailment resistance accordingly. So I think they wanted to give a balance on Katarina, that she doesn't give as much as what a focused support or a focused DPS can do. Because even if you try to apply Katarina on a farming scenario, her damage output isn't as strong, like say King Sei, for example, where King Sei is able to dish out 100,000 damage easy because of the attack boost he gets and heat up as well. It's not to say that Katarina wouldn't shine in hard content or farming. It's just that it's a little lacking in a way. But with the physical mitigate being unique to her, and also being able to do extra small heal in between, I feel is something where she would be able to help the party overall. She's not the same as Gustav, where Gustav would be able to give magic mitigate and scrum guard. So, but for her, she's more into healing and the physical mitigate. So whatever you need for the party, if Katarina can help with that, and also being able to take advantage of intrinsic, that maybe she's the character that you need to solve the puzzle that you need for that hard content. So it depends on the scenario. Overall, I feel that Katarina has an edge with regards to, especially if she's hitting the enemy weakness, because that allows her to get extra BP, and that extra BP goes a long way, where she would be able to do more healing to the party. One thing to note is, if, say, for Katarina's double extra small heal, recently there is Saga Final Empress in JP that has a 9 BP that's guaranteed 2 extra small heal to the party. So for her to be at 9 BP to be able to do that, while Katarina at 7 BP, being able to do 2 or 3 hits, 3 extra small heal rather, is something notable, I would say. Even though, Saga Final Empress is far away, that she can do extra stuff on top of it, that we can't really harshly judge Katarina, where, because she doesn't give any other passive, that she's kind of rated at a lower point. You have to consider where the game is at right now in global, where the value of what she gives for physical mitigate and extra small heal, I feel, is not as valuable as others, like say Time, but valuable enough depending on the scenario. So if you're still undecided on Katarina, maybe take a step back, check the next banners that are coming, because there should be part 3 with UDX Galahad, and also the Sinistrals from Romancing Saga 3 that should be coming soon, that maybe their buffs and changes to them is more attractive to you rather than Katarina. Personally, for me, I'm speaking from GP experience that I was able to use Katarina on some hard content, especially those physical ones where enemies just hit so hard that I need extra defenses, and Katarina help with that. But if you feel like you don't need the physical mitigate, that you have enough defense boost and guard up, then it should be okay for Katarina to be skipped. But yeah, there would always be better characters that's coming to us. It's just a matter of picking whether they are your favorite, or that's the capability that you need for your box to be better in doing hard content or farming. So those are the points that you might want to consider. All right. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble about Katarina. I feel that there are, at paper, it sounded like a good change for Katarina, but as you look at it, there seems to be some points that needed to be brought up rather, so that it's a fair assessment whether Katarina is really godlike or really good or just average that compared to your other characters. And so hence why I created this video. And again, please visit Mia-san and Sato-san's page when you have the chance. And again, thank you so much for listening, and see you in the next video or stream.